Hey everybody, today I'm going to show you how to add some light under your steps. So stay tuned and check it out. Alright, real quick before we get started, I just want to say that I am by no means an electrician, but I do feel comfortable running wire, hooking up switches and lights and receptacles. If you do not feel comfortable doing that, by all means hire somebody else to do it. But like I said, I feel comfortable doing this, so let me show you. Alright, so the first thing we gotta do is steal some power. So here's my closet under the stairs. If we go over here to the unfinished side, I've got a light switch right here. So I'm going to tap into that light switch, steal the power from there, run the wire to the new thing up over here and down there, and then back there is the closet. So let's steal some power from here. So when I'm working with electricity, I always shut off the power. I know some people don't, but I mean, I'm comfortable working with it, but just not while it's on. So let's take this faceplate off. Then we can take the switch out. So there's just 2 screws. And I know I shut the breaker off, but I always double check with a voltage tester. So just put it in here, touch the different wires. All right, everything seems to be dead.
In here, I'm just using a 3/4 inch spade bit to make these holes.
I got a couple holes drilled through, and I'm just gonna start feeding my wire down to the switch box. Actually, I'm gonna go the opposite way. So I'm gonna feed it through this hole right here. Pull most of the wire through. It's got a good right there. Now we can start feeding it up through the top.
And the wire that I'm using is 14-2 wire, and I'll have a link to all the tools and products that I use in this video in the description box below. So check those out if you're interested.
So there's these little knockouts in the back of the box. 2 on top, 2 on bottom, typically, and just knock one out. So it's just a little tab on there that you can knock back. And then we can feed our wire through there and into the box. All right, just like that. Now we got our wire in the box. And we'll take a knife like this, and we're gonna cut this white sheathing off the outside. So you're not supposed to have that within this box. So just take it lightly and just lightly cut this. Like that. You can split it apart. Also take this other little insulation piece off of the copper ground wire. Pull that back, and then just cut all of that off the box. Now you're just left with your wires like this. Alright, so now that I got this through, I see that it's a little bit long, so I'm going to snip this off about there. Then take a wire stripper. I'm going to strip off about that much. Alright. And now we've got some wire nuts on this side, so let's just kind of untangle these a little bit. So we know we're going to steal the power from here, so we're going to hook the whites together like this. Let's take that off. Actually, I'm going to swap this out for a bigger wire nut. Alright, so take the white wires, wire nut them together. Alright, same thing with black wires. This is a little bit weird, a little bit different, because this is actually a 3-way switch that I'm pulling power off of. So that's why we've got 3 black wires here, I believe. If there's any electricians out there and I'm saying something wrong, please correct me. But regardless, we're going to be hooking the black wires up together. Alright, and finally, same thing with the copper ground wires. Just tie this one into there. Put the wire nut back on. And there we go. Okay, so for the fun part, trying to stuff all this wire back into this box. So basically, just kind of take it together like that, group it up, and try to bend it all the same way, and you're gonna kind of make like an S, so like a really tight S with the wire. Just take your time, push the wire back, you'll get it in there. When you're tightening these, try to make sure that your switch is as straight as possible. All right, and then just put the cover plate back on. Now we got the wire in there, I'm going to just hammer this down a little bit more, just to hold those in place. And these are just wire staples. I'll leave a link to everything down below. So for some context, here's that switch that we just tapped into. Here is the room underneath the stairs. And I went up this wall and then over the top of this ductwork and back there. So from up over there, we'll come across here. And here's our wire. All right, so I've got my wire coming from this side. I'm gonna run it along the top and then down this stud. Would have been nice to have the switch box right here, but I've got another switch box on the other side of the wall right there. So I'm just gonna put it right in here and line it up with the previous one. So I know that's at a good height. You just kind of line it up. I could put it flush because I know I'm not gonna finish out the inside of this. And actually I think I might. I'm just gonna put it flush with it. Otherwise, if you are going to finish this with some drywall, there's these little tabs on the back here. You would just stick this box on the stud until it hits these tabs, and then that's, I believe that's a 1/2 inch spacing for some drywall. But like I said, I'm gonna put it flush with the wall since I'm not gonna finish out this inside here. Again, line it up with the other box and just nail it in place. All right, now I can take my wire, run it along the top, and bring it down the stud in through the box. Feed it through the box, just like that. I gotta tell you, I got really lucky with this wire because this was the longest piece of wire I had without going to the store and buying a new one. And look at that, comes through the box and it is the perfect length. I'm not even kidding. Didn't cut this or anything to size. This is just how it ended up being. It's like it was meant to be. So we got that pulled through. And go ahead and cut off this protective sheathing within the box.
And this is just a 2-foot LED light that I picked up at the local big box store. It's nothing too special. I think it was about 20 bucks. I'll try to find something similar online and link it down below.
You want to knock that little piece off, and then you can put one of these plastic nuts in there. And then when you feed the wire through there, this just keeps the wire from backing out again. Then just take your wire, feed it through here. In the box like that. Slice off this outer jacket. Then we can go ahead and strip the 2 wires. So in this case, this light came with some of these traditional wire nuts like that. Picked up some of these lever nuts. They're called for a different job. I'll link that video up here in the upper corner. But these are just basically the same thing. Put the wire in here with the lever open and then secured in place by shutting that lever. You can actually see over here they have some just sitting on these other wires. So I'm actually gonna steal these 2 because I only got one left of my own. So I'll steal these 2 and I'll put on, this is another one. This is basically the same thing except it doesn't have a lever. You just stick these in there and it closes on itself so you can't pull it off anymore. So I'm gonna stick 2 of those on there because these wires I'm not gonna be using, and that way I can utilize these lever nuts for these wires that I'm hooking up right now. So basically, just take one, connect the colors together. Oop, wrong side. Stick that on there, flip the nut down, or flip the lever down, and it's secured in place. Then take this other black wire, put that in there, flip it down, and now black wires are connected. They're really simple to use, and I've actually come to like them quite a bit. So let's do the same thing over here. The white wires. And then even though this has spots for 3, you don't have to use all 3 of them. So I'm just going to use 2 of them to connect the grounds. There we go. Now that's all hooked up. Now while this is still open to install it, I'm just going to use some screws and screw it to the wall up above the door. So let me show you that. And then just tuck all the wires back in place and put the LED back in place. There we go. Alright, so then we've got our wire coming from the light right here. We'll cut that to size. Save this piece. Cut the jacket off. Peel that back. Cut it off within the box. Strip these 2 wires. Now, for a light switch, you'll take the white wire from the light and the other white wire from your power source, and you're just going to connect those together. So like I said, take the 2 white wires and just tie those together. Now take that section that you cut off from this before and cut maybe about 4 inches. Take that, slice the jacket off. What you're doing is basically you're stealing the ground wire here. Just a small section of it. And take that and tie it into these other 2 ground wires. Right, so we've got 3, so we got the 2 ground wires, one from the light, one from the power source, and then this short guy, and we're gonna tie those 3 together. Take a needle nose plier, and on the short ground wire, just put a little hook on it, just like that. Now take your switch and connect the ground wire to the switch, and it's going to, I guess I don't know how to explain this well, but the way that you sort of tighten this down, I'm going to be twisting it clockwise, so make sure it loops around like this. And the reason for that is because when you tighten it, then this wire won't come disengaged with the screw. So you're tightening it this way, and you're also looping around that same way. Okay. Alright, so we got our ground wire attached here. We're just gonna kind of tuck the switch out of the way for a second. Then strip both the black wires down a little bit. That one's already done. This may be a little bit long. And then we're going to take the black wire and we're going to put that same little loop on both of these. Same thing, you're going to want to loop it around the same way that you're tightening it. So in this case, I'm going to loop it around like that. Alright, and same thing with this other loop. Perfect. So we got our black wires hooked up to the switch. We got our grounds hooked together with a little tail coming off, and that one tail goes to the ground wire, or the ground nut. And then we've tied our 2 white wires together. So on a receptacle, you're going to have 2 screws on each side typically, so 2 golds and then 2 silver on the other side, and you would tie the black into one and the white into the other. But in this case, since it's a switch, you're interrupting that power, right? So we got our circuit coming through here, and those are tied together, but the reason that the 2 blacks go to here is because in this case, the switch is off, and then when you do that, that connects these 2 together, so that completes the circuit. And when you switch it off, then that interrupts this connection between these 2 wires. So that's what makes the switch work. So now we got this all connected, we can just tuck this back into the box, and we can put our screws in. Finally, the cover plate. Is it a switch plate or a cover plate? If you know, let me know down below in the comments. Right, now the moment of truth. Let's turn the power back on and see if this works. Sweet. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty simple project and really useful because we got some light under the steps now. If you guys enjoyed this video, or maybe if you learned something, it'd be awesome if you could hit that like button down below. That just lets YouTube know that this was a decent video and maybe it should pass it on to some other people to watch. And while you're down there, consider hitting the subscribe button as well if you haven't already. That way you're notified every time I release a new video. And until next time, thanks for watching.